13 days of QE, 65 billion pounds, 13 days, 2 weeks to flatten the yield curve. This is all so familiar. Bring it down, print the money. Let's do it. 2 weeks to flatten the yield curve. I'm sure this time it'll work. Enjoy your pivot.
Shut up!
Hey guys, Ralph here from the Endgame Investor. And the UK, the United Kingdom, appears to be the first to slip into the endgame. I was saying this since April 2020, before I even started my service, the Endgame Investor. I was saying this to myself, really, so I can't really prove it, but I was saying it, that the British pound would be the first to collapse. England would be the first to go into the endgame because direct financing basically means that the central bank, in this case, the Bank of England, buys bonds directly from the Treasury without any intermediary. In the US, QE works by the central bank, Federal Reserve, buying bonds off of commercial banks rather than directly from the Treasury. And though this is mostly cosmetic, it does allay the illusion of pure, unfettered money printing. But in the UK, for whatever reason, they had to forego the middleman, and the Bank of England bought bonds directly. This is what caused hyperinflation in the mid-1980s in Israel. And it's also how the country eventually conquered its hyperinflation by re-indexing to the dollar and promising never to directly finance government debt again. We've seen wild, crazy swings in British gilts, and the word gilt is bond, but it comes from the word gold, as all money words tend to stem from in the first place anyway. There's another derivative in vocabulary for you. And what this essentially is the first pivot. And here's a piece by Yahoo Finance, the finance of your local Yahoos. Stock market news live updates. Stocks rally as Treasury yields retreat. Bank of England pivots. Galloping inflation, and in the UK has not calmed down, and they still have to print about 65 billion pounds worth of money because the government had this genius plan to cut taxes without cutting spending. I'm all for tax cuts, cut taxes to zero, but then also cut spending to zero. And then your budget will balance and the government will go out of business because nobody will be paid. What should you expect when you cut taxes without cutting spending? You should expect the currency to collapse, which is exactly what's happening to the pound, which is not really a bad thing in the long term because you want this thing to die. In any case, I want to congratulate the UK for being the first to enter the end game earthquake, and it's going to take some time. It's not going to end tomorrow, but the bond market is showing that this is the end game for the United Kingdom. Welcome, King Charles. It's going to be fun. Let's go to the sources. We have this garbage website, Positive Money. I don't know. I was just typing in Bank of England direct finance, and this is the first thing that came up on Google, whatever. So it's the basic story, and it's written by some author called Hannah the Worst, and you'll see why she is the worst. She doesn't make any sense. This is very politically skewed. It's disgusting, but let's read it anyway. Major breakthrough on public money creation. Advancement in money technology. It's a breakthrough. The Bank of England will directly finance government coronavirus spending. Well, that is just great news. UK central bank becomes first in the world. Yes, we're discussing this before, to adopt direct monetary financing to fund government spending during the coronavirus crisis. This move demonstrates once and for all that the government need not depend on private markets to finance its spending. Oh, well, that's just great. This is wonderful. Direct monetary financing. All you need to do is just print money, hand it to the government. Everything will be fine, as what now is happening is proving. It's all great and kumbaya, wonderful disgustingness.
Kumbaya, my lord, kumbaya. Kumbaya, my lord, oh Lord, kumbaya.
This morning, the Bank of England made the welcome announcement that it would expand the government's pre-existing overdraft at the bank, known as the Ways and Means Facility, to provide the government with additional spending power for its COVID-19 response. The response was shut down the damn country, lock everyone in their houses, mask them up like cattle, pretend this all helps. The bank was already indirectly financing the Treasury through its quantitative easing program, but today's step represents more direct coordination, meaning more direct theft. For years, politicians used high levels of public debt as an excuse to justify brutal spending cuts. spending, they're brutal. Yeah, you don't ever want to cut spending because the government has to keep spending more and more and more and more and more money forever, or life will end on planet Earth. Anyway, this article, I can't stand reading any more of it, so I'm going to stop. I want to throw up. But anyway, let's go to the next source, which is the FT, the Financial Times, which is almost as bad, but at least you have a veneer of somewhat tall, knowing what they're talking about without being so disgustingly obvious in their insanity. In the background of this, we have food inflation, which is really the only inflationary gauge that I look at, because contrary to popular belief, hyperinflation is not necessarily all prices going up and up and up at the same rate at the same time. It rather is a reflection of the poverty of society. So you have the more and more basic necessities going up faster and faster and faster as all remaining purchasing power goes into surviving the next day of life on the planet, which reflects most directly in food prices, not in the price of accessories or jewelry or cars or whatever it is that is a luxury. It's in food that is the primary gauge of hyperinflation in terms of the price level, in my view. Anyway, let's go to the FT. Martin Wolf is a horrible person, but his newspaper is just a little bit better than this other garbage thing. So Bank of England launches 65 billion move to calm market, 65 billion pounds. That's that little pound symbol there. It's an L with a line through. I don't know what it means. It's probably some old English thing. Who cares? Central banks spend 5 billion pounds a day, 13 days. It's only a 13-day QE, and it's 2 weeks to flatten the bond curve. Oh, wow, I just came up with that. 13 days to flatten the bond curve. Oh, that's not going to work. 13 days of QE, 65 billion pounds, 13 days, 2 weeks to flatten the yield curve. This is all so familiar. Bring it down, print the money. Let's do it. 2 weeks to flatten the yield curve. I'm sure this time it'll work. Enjoy your pivot. The Bank of England took emergency action on Wednesday to avoid a meltdown in the UK pension sector, unleashing a 65 billion bond buying program to stem a crisis in government debt markets. I'm sure that after all of the disgustingness that has happened over the past 2.5 years, that all you need is just another $65 billion in money printing, and then everything will be fine. Everything is awesome. It's just another 65 billion, and then it'll stop. That's it. No more money printing. Everything will go back to normal after that. Calm down and stop being such an alarmist. The central bank warned of a material risk to UK financial stability from turmoil in the gilts market. You are guilty as charged, sparked by Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng's tax cuts and borrowing plan last week. Why does his name sound so Zimbabwean? Probably because he's about to bring the UK into a Zimbabwe-like monetary state where $100 trillion bills with rocks on them become collectibles on eBay, if eBay even survives the hyperinflation of the global planet. Global planet? What do we get? The non-global planet? I'm using too many words here. In spite of the prolonged up market upheaval, City Minister Andrew Griffiths said the government would blah, 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 blah. Here's a great quote. This is like really focus grouped and engineered to say all the right keywords. But listen to this. We think they're the right plans. The right plans. What are the right plans? The right plans are cut taxes and increase spending in an environment of near hyperinflation. That's the right plan. So let's begin again here. We think they're the right plans because those plans make our economy competitive. This guy. Do these people even exist? Are they real? What are they? And now here is the picture I really wanted to share. Historical swings in the gilt market. You can see what happened here in September 28th, September 28th. This is the percentage points in the change in the 30-year yield. This is the strongest swings ever by far. Nothing compared to the 2020 lockdowns over here, this line. Nothing compared to 2008 in this line. This is something else. This is an end game scale crisis that will develop from here, and there will be no slowing down. How much longer until the pound completely collapses? I don't know. But what I do know is that the UK is the first to pivot, and it will not be the last. What's next? Is it the ECB? Is it Germany? Does that mean that it's the ECB, or is it the Bundesbank? Can the Bundesbank even pivot if it wanted to? Is it Australia? It doesn't matter. The dominoes are starting to fall. The UK has fallen, it has pivoted, and the full end game, where all derivatives of gold collapse in real value, and gold is the only thing on the pyramid left standing, that will begin in earnest when the dollar itself collapses, which is when the Federal Reserve decides that it must pivot, just like the Bank of England pivoted 2 days ago. The Fed will come and pivot for one last time. And at that point, the dollar will collapse. Everything will fall in terms of gold, and gold will become money once again, not because it's a central plan, not because governments want it, but because there will be no other choice. Because as much as anyone wants to deny it, whether you are a Bitcoin maximalist or a dollar maximalist, or you believe in any other form of derivative, gold is money. Everything else is a derivative. And now that the end game has begun in Europe with the UK ground zero, it is time to seriously consider a 2-week free trial of the in-game investor, because things are going to get really damn interesting. And whether you have money to invest or not, it's going to be entertaining. And I'm a writer, and I'm good at it. So have fun with me. Check it out. It'll be cool. The Endgame Investor will give you front row tickets to the end of the financial world as we know it. And if you want a more biblical perspective on what's going on, then be my patron on Patreon for as little as $3 a month, where I will give you biblical commentary on economics, monetary policy, and government. This is Rafi, the Endgame Investor, and I'll see you soon.
Kumbaya.